Which insights about peace and peace building were the most surprising to you? And on a very personal level, which insights do you hold most dearly to you?
On my side, maybe what surprises me the most was that we as a collective, as a community, as an international community, we are talking about peace, but most of the time, in fact, it's just about ceasefire. And that all the energy is about stopping, in fact, the hostilities, but they never think about how do you distribute peace, how is the power sharing, how do you bring the society? And that surprised me a lot. And it's interesting, even myself, I thought, oh, there's so many peace initiatives, but when you start to zoom in and you study, and we did a lot of study in initiatives, you start to realize it's just about ceasefire.
Ceasefire agreements and short-term peace agreements are necessary to stop violence. And then what comes out is very often power sharing between those that were fighting. What we need is responsibility sharing, that after you have a peace agreement, you also work with everyone concerned, be they hostile or not, to the peace, to anchor it in real life, to work on social contracts, to see the benefits of peace.
This big gap between what sometimes those who are working around peace processes, similar to what you said, assume to be the priority, which is just the end to the violence, which indeed is a priority, versus also what people believe is so fundamental for peace to take root in society, which are the economic foundations, prospects, hope, institutions, responsibility, governance. And I think that really was a very important finding from the process, to see that while there is a big sense of fed-upness, there's a sense of urgency and willingness. And that's what made our initiative very special as a collective effort, that there is a lot of momentum to move forward.
So we just discussed our intermediate findings with the German Federal Foreign Office and the European peace-building experts here in Berlin. And what would be your main takeaways from the exchanges that we've had?
One is the understanding that it's time that we create new type of alliances. I really feel that, and the alliances are about state. Of course, state nation have a role to play, and here you can see Germany has a big role to play, of course, for good reason. And what you see, what is happening right now in Ukraine, for example, you understand that there is something important about state, and at the same time, foundation. And here I'm very happy that we're talking also at the Robert Bosch Foundation. So I think you have this important philanthropy dimensions and corporate and private sectors.
With the geopolitical realities of today, with the threats of climate change, with the technological transformation that we're living, and this new era creates new imperatives, and there is an urgency to rethink our approach. There's an urgency to have a new frame of reference, and I think what came out from the exchange here in Berlin is that what we need is not only a new philosophy of how do we think and act around peace processes, but also a set of principles, a set of practices, and a framework for action.
If I might add myself, I think two aspects came up that are very close to my heart. One is that after more than 20 years with norms related to the participation of women, this is still not working, and many societies are then excluding 50% of their population from important decision-making on peace. The other one is, of course, about the fact that local or national conflict today very often become a proxy conflict in the geopolitical situation. We see this in Europe, we see it on all continents, which means that in addition to a long-term investment to support peace, there is also a timing issue when it comes to finding ways to block negative interference and power games.
That's a critical question. I would say three of them were critical, but this one. So what is your hope for the future impact of our findings, the Commission's findings?
We need to really bridge this legitimacy gap. We need to fight cynicism around peace. We need to find a way where those who are most affected by conflict have a stake in shaping what kind of future they deserve. And I think a fundamental shift we need to see out of this process, that we're not coming with another set of principles and a report that sits on the shelf, that we're actually providing a framework for action that would incentivize all those who can and want to make a positive difference to act, and to act in the direction that moves us towards more sustainability of peace processes, more responsiveness to the aspirations of the people, more inclusivity in peace processes, and restore hope for people, but also show that there is prospects and that peace processes are rooted in societies and not transplanted so they don't last.
In a time where we talk a lot about military means, it's my hope that our work will contribute to the other pillar when it comes to creating true security. And of course that the norms set up by the international community will again be adhered to when it comes to peaceful resolution and long-term commitment.
You know, I've been extremely impressed over the last few years by what has happened in Sudan, for example, in Algeria, but also in the climate crisis, where I see people somewhat without leaders taking on an issue, being able to mobilize themselves, to go for hope, for best solutions. I really would like to say the same happening with our initiative. That, of course, our initiative is also geared towards state, towards the elite, but also towards the people. And I would love to be at the beginning of a movement that is, as you said, owned by the people, and that the people will in fact use our initiatives to push it and to create hope, because that will make a difference. Absolutely.
I think one of the big things that we are working towards is not to have just a frame of reference and a document and a peace covenant that outlines how you do things, but it's about creating bottom-up pressure as well. It's about calling for greater accountability. It's about ensuring that we accompany these shifts in institutions, in institutional behavior, in policies. And that can happen only if we actually accompany this kind of new frame of reference with a strong focus on implementation, on supporting actors at different levels, at the international level, at national level, getting engagement from the private sector, getting engagement from civil society actors. All those who can and want to make a contribution to peace should be able to leverage something like the Peacemakers' Covenant to move forward on this agenda.